Welcome to the very first episode of the Bean to Cup series. We're going to be exploring the world of coffee like never before. I'm Mark Sada, and I'm absolutely buzzing to have coffee expert Lisa Mueller joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mark. It's exciting to finally unpack all the fascinating details behind this drink we all love.
So, Lisa, most of us just grab our coffee and go right. But what if there's more to the story that meets the eye? You're about to reveal some pretty surprising truths about the big commercial brands we see everywhere. What's the story behind those mass-produced coffees like Folgers and Maxwell House?
Well, think of it this way. It's all about efficiency and volume. These companies are focused on producing huge quantities of coffee as quickly and cheaply as possible. And that often comes at the expense of quality and potentially our health.
Interesting. So let's start at the beginning. Where do these beans even come from, and what are the farming practices like?
Most commercial coffee beans come from massive farms that use synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. They're trying to maximize yield, and that often means turning to chemicals.
So there are actual pesticides in my coffee.
Unfortunately, yes. And we're not talking trace amounts. Studies have found residues of glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, in some non-organic coffees. The International Agency for Research on Cancer has even classified glyphosate as a possible carcinogen. It's definitely something to think about.
Wow, that's unsettling. What about other chemicals? Are there any, besides glyphosate, we should be aware of?
There are a couple of others. Chlorpyrifos and malathion are two pesticides commonly used on coffee farms, and they've been linked to some serious health concerns, including neurological damage and hormone disruption.
That's really concerning. I think a lot of people, myself included, choose decaf thinking it's a healthier option. Is that actually true?
Unfortunately, it's often not the case. Many companies use harsh chemical solvents to extract the caffeine. One common solvent is methylene chloride, which is actually found in paint strippers.
Paint strippers? That sounds incredibly harsh.
It is, and while the goal is to remove all of it, there's always the possibility of trace amounts remaining in the final product. It's a trade-off many consumers might not even be aware of.
So we've got pesticides on the beans and potentially harmful solvents in decaf. What happens next in the coffee journey?
Then comes the roasting process, and this is where another potential issue arises: acrylamide.
Acrylamide. What is that exactly?
It's a chemical that forms naturally when coffee beans are roasted at high temperatures. The problem is acrylamide has been classified as a probable human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. And guess what? Instant coffees, like the ones from Maxwell House and Folgers, tend to have double the amount of acrylamide compared to freshly roasted coffee.
So instant coffee is even worse.
In terms of acrylamide content, yes, it's something to consider when choosing your coffee.
This is all pretty eye-opening. We've covered pesticides, solvents used in decaf, and now this acrylamide. It seems like a lot to be concerned about when it comes to commercial coffee. But I'm guessing there's a better way, right?
Absolutely, Mark. That's what's so exciting. There are healthier and, frankly, more delicious alternatives out there.
I'm all ears. Where do we find these better options?
Well, it all starts with how the coffee is grown and processed. That's what we'll be diving into next. We'll explore the world of organic coffee, ethical sourcing practices, and alternative roasting methods that can make a huge difference in both the taste and healthfulness of your cup.
This is fascinating. I'm ready to dive into the good stuff.
And I'm ready to share it. We'll be back right after this to explore the world of truly good coffee and how you can make the switch to a cleaner, more flavorful cup. And be sure to check out our partners, All Things Coffee and the Essence of Travel and Discoveries, for some amazing resources and recommendations along the way. All right, Mark, we've just uncovered some pretty unsettling things about commercial coffee production, but you hinted that there's a brighter side to this story. Let's talk about what makes a cup of coffee truly good.
Okay, yeah. Let's dive into that.
It all starts with the source, Mark. Organically grown coffee beans are a game changer. These beans are cultivated without any synthetic pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers.
Okay, so organic beans are key. But why is that so important? How does it actually affect the final product?
It's about more than just avoiding harmful chemicals. Organic farming focuses on creating healthy soil and nurturing the coffee plants in a way that allows their natural flavors to develop fully.
So it's like letting the beans express their true selves without being forced or altered by chemicals.
Exactly, and that translates to a much richer, more complex, and nuanced cup of coffee. You can actually taste the difference.
That makes sense. Where can we find these magical organic beans?
There are some fantastic coffee growing regions around the world committed to organic practices. Honduras and Peru, for instance, are known for their exceptional organic coffees.
Honduras and Peru, those names really evoke images of lush landscapes and rich coffee traditions.
You got it. And beyond organic farming, ethical sourcing is another crucial aspect of what makes coffee truly good.
What does ethical sourcing actually mean in the context of coffee?
It's about ensuring fair treatment and fair pay for the farmers who cultivate these beans. It means supporting sustainable practices that protect the environment and empower coffee-growing communities.
So it's not just about the beans themselves, but about the entire ecosystem and the people involved in the process.
Precisely. Ethically sourced, fair trade coffee makes a positive impact on the lives of the farmers and their families, and that's something worth supporting.
I'm starting to see how all of these pieces fit together to create a more sustainable and delicious cup of coffee. So we've got organically grown, ethically sourced beans. What's next?
Next comes the roasting, and there are some innovative methods out there that can make a world of difference. One of my favorites is air roasting.
Air roasting. I've heard that term, but how does it actually work?
Unlike traditional drum roasters, which can scorch the beans and create bitter flavors, air roasting gently suspends the beans in hot air. This results in a more even roast, eliminating bitterness and unwanted byproducts.
So it's like the beans are floating on a cushion of hot air, allowing their natural sweetness and complexity to shine through.
That's a great way to put it. Air roasting really does unlock the full potential of the beans, giving you a smoother, more flavorful, and ultimately more satisfying cup of coffee.
BC, you've painted a vivid picture of what good coffee can be. Organically grown, ethically sourced, and air roasted. It's clear there's a stark contrast between this and the mass-produced commercial coffees we discussed earlier. What would you say to someone who's on the fence about making the switch?
I'd say it's all about aligning your coffee choices with your values. Do you want to support a system that prioritizes profit over people and the planet? Or do you want to savor a cup of coffee knowing that it was produced in a way that's good for you, for the farmers, and for the environment?
It's a powerful question, and I think it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. The choice is ultimately up to the individual, but having this knowledge empowers us to make more informed decisions.
That's exactly right. And there are incredible resources out there to help people explore this world of good coffee.
Like our amazing partners, All Things Coffee and the Essence of Travel and Discoveries, they're incredible resources for those who are ready to dive into the world of specialty coffee.
Absolutely. They curate some truly exceptional coffees, and they can help you find the perfect beans to suit your taste. You can find their links in the show notes.
This has been an incredible journey so far, Lisa. It's amazing to realize how much thought and care goes into producing a truly good cup of coffee. It's not just a drink, it's a whole experience.
I couldn't agree more. And we're just getting started. In our next episode, we're going to break down the specific differences between organic and chemically produced coffee.
I'm already intrigued. We'll delve into the science, the taste profiles, and everything you need to know to make the best choices for your health and your taste buds.
It's going to be fascinating. We'll explore the nuances of flavor, the impact on the environment, and the social implications of how we choose our coffee. You won't want to miss it.
Listeners, join us next time for part 3 of our Bean to Cup series as we continue our exploration of the fascinating world of coffee. Until then, happy sipping. Welcome back, coffee lovers, to the Bean to Cup series.
It's great to be back, Mark. Are you ready to dive into organic versus chemically produced coffee?
Absolutely, Lisa. I'm fascinated to learn more about the differences beyond just the label.
All right, so let's start with organic coffee farming. As we've discussed, it takes a holistic approach. It's all about working in harmony with nature, nurturing the soil, and avoiding synthetic inputs.
Meaning no pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers, right? Those are some of the major concerns we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And while chemical inputs might boost yields in the short term, they can really disrupt the delicate balance of the coffee farm's ecosystem.
So it's not just about what's in the coffee itself, but also the impact on the environment.
Precisely, organic farming focuses on building healthy soil, encouraging biodiversity, and promoting sustainable practices that benefit everyone involved.
That makes a lot of sense, but let's be honest, a lot of people are curious about the taste. Does this difference in farming practices actually affect the flavor of the coffee?
Absolutely, you can definitely taste the difference. Organically grown coffee tends to have a much more vibrant and nuanced flavor profile because the beans are allowed to develop naturally without being forced with chemical fertilizers. They have a richer, more complex taste.
So we're talking about those delicious notes of chocolate caramel, maybe even some fruity undertones?
Exactly. You might even find subtle floral hints or earthy nuances depending on where the beans are from and the specific variety. It's all about letting the natural flavors shine through.
Now, I know some people hesitate to try organic coffee because they assume it's too expensive. What's your perspective on that?
It's true that organic coffee can sometimes be a bit pricier than conventional coffee, but think about the value you're getting. You're investing in your health, you're supporting ethical farming practices, and you're treating yourself to a truly exceptional cup of coffee.
That's a great point. It's like choosing to buy higher quality food or clothing. We often don't hesitate to spend a little extra for those things, so why should coffee be any different?
Exactly. It's something we enjoy every single day, so it makes sense to invest in the best.
I couldn't agree more, Lisa. This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of coffee. I think we've successfully debunked some myths about commercial production, and we've shed light on the beauty and deliciousness of truly good coffee.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you, Mark, and with all our listeners. Hopefully, this series has inspired you to be more mindful about your coffee choices and to seek out those ethical, sustainable, and delicious alternatives that are out there.
And don't forget our friends at All Things Coffee and the Essence of Travel and Discoveries are fantastic resources for finding those amazing coffees. Be sure to check out their links in the show notes. And if this episode has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to keep exploring the world of coffee. Try different brewing methods, experiment with beans from various origins, and most importantly, savor every sip. Until next time, happy brewing.